Oh God, we're doing a podcast. What is it now, Karen? Episode 6.
Hello.
Bonsoir.
Hi.
That means good evening in French.
Didn't know that.
Episode 6. 6? How'd you say 6 in
Cease.
6? Cease and desist. You're looking very sporty.
I think I'm just back from a cycle.
Where'd you go?
Just round my bit.
Round my bit. Come round my bit. What
For non-Scottish listeners, your bit is just where you live. Your bit.
Which is different to your bits, which we talked about last week.
Very, very different.
Because that's different.
Your bit is just your area.
Your hood.
Your local area. Just round my local area. Went with my sister. Do you have a nice day off?
I did. Although I didn't. I woke up at about 10 to 1.
Nice.
I just woke not intentionally. I had set an alarm for like a sensible time, like 10, so I could still like enjoy my day. But I just woke up and checked my phone. It was 10 to 1. I was like, oh, obviously needed that.
You must have needed it.
I've tidied the flat up and gone to Lidl and cooked and generally just kind of chilled out, listened to a lot of music. It's been good, actually.
You know how to live.
I really do. I've had half a bottle of cider as well. I'm crazy.
You doing the podcast drunk?
Can you tell? I'm under the influence.
We would be insufferable if we did this drunk.
Imagine. Say a lot of stuff that we'd regret, probably.
Yeah.
We're already pretty disinhibited anyway when it comes to talking about these people that we find on the internet. So could you imagine? We're 2 sheets to the breeze.
I think we're quite balanced.
You think?
Maybe I am.
I have been a Karen this week again.
Again?
Yeah.
Not another one.
Not another one. It was last night actually. It was only last night. It's fresh in the memory. So I finished work late last night. I was coming back. It's been pretty hard 3 days, and I was done in, and I phoned Annie. I was like, "Oh, can we just order a pizza?" Because I just wanted like a pizza and a beer and just like sit on the sofa and not do anything. And we ordered it, and it came from a place I'd never heard of before in Glasgow, and it arrived, and it was like meant to be like a veggie pizza or something. I had like all it had on it was like sliced aubergine and mushroom. Obviously, I had like the cheese and tomato sauce, but the aubergine was like raw, like it hadn't been cooked, so it was like really bitter and like crunchy. And then like the mushrooms were also like uncooked, like spongy and stuff. So I was like, what? And then I was eating, I was like, oh, this tastes like so weird. And then I looked at the underside of the pizza, and it was black. It was totally burnt on the underside. So it was like inedible. I was really like disappointed. But I took Andy's phone because it was his Uber Eats that we ordered it on, and like sent a complaint about the quality of the food.
Have you done a TripAdvisor yet?
I haven't done TripAdvisor. I've not gone that far. But Andy was absolutely fuming because he was like, "Oh, you should have told me because that's on my account." I was like, "Yeah, but it goes to Uber Eats, doesn't go to like that place." And I think they're quite good at giving you your money back as well. So we'll wait and see.
Did you do the line? Won't be back.
You've just lost my custom. No, you can't. You can't actually write a comment. You can just you go through like the help page, and it's like poor quality of food.
Yeah.
Then one of the options was burnt or overcooked. But I was also trying to find an option that was like burnt and raw at the same time. Unfortunately,
did they not have that pre?
That was too specific. They didn't have that, and I attached a picture of the burnt pizza.
That's not too bad.
So we'll see what they say.
You were probably saved by the fact that you couldn't put in your own comments.
Yeah, I feel like I was in quite a bad place. I think I would have really unleashed.
Went to town.
Vented on this pizza restaurant.
Yours, Karen.
Oh, we've had our first email submission.
We have.
A listener got in touch to share with us an example of a Karen, and I think she was literally called Karen as well.
Yeah, we spoke about that. What did you call it? Nirvana?
Nirvana. Yeah. Oneness.
Yeah, so listener got in touch to share a Karen that he had found on Twitter. If you want to get in touch, it's whatisitnowkaren@gmail.com.
So it was a clip from the Douglas Isle of Man newspaper. A Douglas teenager has been fined £250 for possessing £58 worth of cannabis. And Karen has commented simply, hang him, full stop.
Wow.
That's very, very severe, isn't it?
Thing is, where do you go from hanging? What if you're caught with heroin? What's the punishment?
But it's very succinct. Hang him.
So where was that? The Isle of
Man.
They even have Karens on the Isle of Man? Who knew?
Yeah, no. Nowhere is safe.
They're everywhere.
Yeah, it's a classic Karen to want to like disproportionately punish somebody for a minor
misdemeanors.
a minor misdemeanor. What did they say? It was a teenager. A teenager has been caught with £58 worth of cannabis. Is that a lot? I don't know. I don't really know these things.
It doesn't seem like that much, does it?
It's such a specific amount, isn't it?
Yeah.
A street value of £58.
Mm.
What do you think about the legalisation of drugs thing?
I think they should be decriminalised because it spends a lot of police time on misdemeanours such as wee guys with £58 worth of cannabis rather than solving real crimes.
I know how much time do you think that took in terms of both searching, finding, cautioning,
all the processing, all the police administration, all that
paperwork. Yeah, for £58 worth of weed. It's probably it's in the grand scheme. I mean, I know it's illegal, but currently illegal. But it just does seem like a big waste of time, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like, do you think people in Isle of Man are like pleased at that news, or do they think, oh, what a load?
Yeah, you know, when we're talking, that's why I'm saying decriminalisation, because you wouldn't say that he is. Is he a danger to society? Is he a danger to the people of the Isle of Man?
No.
Probably not. So.
Well, we don't know him, but it doesn't sound like it.
No.
I think cocaine and heroin, obviously the big ones, but they have a lot of like human suffering associated with them.
Yeah.
Like grown in South America or various places like that. And then like organised crime and money laundering and all this kind of stuff. They can be quite damaging. So surely the government should just take the power
away
out of the hands of these criminals. Yeah. And say, well, we're going to regulate it now and raise tax money from it and
look at the tax money they get from alcohol and cigarettes.
Oh yeah, exactly. It's weird that, isn't it? How like that's like socially acceptable to an extent, but then like, you know, £58 worth of cannabis isn't.
Yeah, it's socially acceptable to get drunk out your mind.
But not smoke a doobie.
Yeah.
I love that phrase.
A doobie.
I see those boxes are still behind you, and it actually looks like there might be more. Is that possible?
Probably.
Have you still been buying stuff despite not having it? Why don't you just have a go at putting this bathroom in yourself?
I think that's what's going to happen.
How are you with grout?
Well, update on the plumber. Unfortunately, he did test positive now for coronavirus. So,
Jesus.
But he said he doesn't have any symptoms. So,
God, that's worrying.
Which is quite worrying, yeah.
Who else is out there without any symptoms and just spreading it?
Yep. We didn't talk about coronavirus last week, but I think this week is going to be.
Oh yeah, we're going to make up for it, I think, aren't we?
Yeah, we're making up for it this week.
God.
Yikes.
And on that note, shall we crack on?
I think so.
Let's get cracking. Before we start, shout out to Lucas. It's his birthday today. Happy birthday. He's 21.
21.
Yep, 21 today. My mum is actually live update. My mum has just texted me asking when the next episode of What Is It Now, Karen, is going to be uploaded because she's heading out to the hot tub and she wants to listen.
Do you have a hot tub?
Yeah, my mum bought. See, like at the very start of the pandemic, she was like, "Well, we're not going on holiday this year, so I'll just buy a inflatable hot tub." And it took months to arrive. It was meant to arrive in like June, and it didn't arrive till the start of August. And I just knew in my heart of hearts, I was like, "I'll have moved out by the time this comes. And I'm going to miss it." And I did, and I've not had a shot in it yet.
I think you can't. They're sold out everywhere now.
Yeah,
it was like flour,
toilet
roll, and hot tubs.
The essentials.
Essentials.
But it's so apparently it costs the same amount to run just the hot tub for 24 hours as it does the entire house. So my dad is furious. I think it'll get packed away for the winter or something.
Yeah.
But anyway, enough about that hot tub. I don't want to talk about it. I'm jealous.
Okay. Is it Karen of the Week time then?
Mm-hmm. So mine this week is her Deputy Chief Medical Officer and Karen in Chief, a certain loose woman.
Okay.
Called. It's Denise Welsh.
Yeah.
Of multifactorial fame. She's a loose woman. I think she's been in EastEnders before.
Was it not Coronation Street?
Or maybe Corrie. Was she in Doctors?
Is that still on?
I don't know. Anyway, so Denise Welsh has been in the news because she's been very outspoken on the whole COVID situation. She's been very how would I phrase it? She's coming across very anti-information, anti-fact, anti-statistic. You're anti-statistics here.
The sort of WhatsApp group chain sort of gets her information from a WhatsApp group chain message. That sort of vibe.
Mm-hmm. Well, we'll come on to that because okay. I've spent the evening like scrolling through her Twitter just to kind of get straight in my head what kind of stuff she's been saying.
Time well spent.
Well, if it's for the podcast, it's always time well spent.
Of course.
So she has had a lot of backlash and she's come in for a lot of stick. Rightly or wrongly, I don't know. You need to make your own mind up about that. But here's Denise Welch talking about. So I'll give you some context. She's worried about the fearmongering from the media about coronavirus. I will do anything to help balance the fearmongering. And here's the clip. Run VT.
Have improved drastically over the few months. I noticed that I didn't see the other day when the news starts, bong, nobody dies in the UK because of a corona-related illness. No, what we have is bong, fears rise as spikes reach 1,075 positive tests a day. So if you're going to frighten us with how many we're dying every day, please enlighten us and tell us how things have improved, that when no one is dying. Because as a mental health person, and if people want to say she's on about that again, I don't care, because of the people that it does help, is that I will do anything to help balance the fear-mongering. The other day, it said, universities could become the care homes of the second wave. How dare they? And then it cuts to a clip of two presenters sitting going, it's terrifying, isn't it, to think that they're saying now that universities might become the care home. Just as these young people on the threshold of their life are going back to university. It's absolutely disgraceful.
Okay, so that was Denise.
A lot to unpack there.
A lot to unpack. Where do we start?
I have a confession.
What?
I can't say that I entirely disagree with everything that she said.
Okay, interesting. Are we going to have our first proper debate between us on here?
Potentially. I think she has a point where the mainstream media have been playing off COVID and been playing off people's fears, which I don't agree with. I do agree where she said where there have been positive stories that they have been totally ignored. I
What
don't
kind of
think
positive
the
stories?
media... But previously when cases were going down and hospital admissions were going down, they were only focusing on new infections, which has to be discussed. And I'm not saying that the media should downplay coronavirus, the risk, people need to know the risks and the dangers of coronavirus, absolutely. But I think there's a fine line between presenting facts and scaremongering. And I think certain publications and certain news programmes cross that line between scaremongering and just presenting facts.
But sometimes the facts are scary though. So like, it doesn't matter if you just present the facts and they are scary. And that's not necessarily fear-mongering. And I see when...
I don't know if I agree, because when you look at, and I guess we just have to expect it from tabloids, on the front page of the Sun it'll be like picture of a skull and so many dead and RIP grannies and everything, like.
You should be a headline writer. There's one here called Fear We Go Again on the front of the Sun.
There you go.
That's from 10 days ago, so... no, but I don't know if that is true though, Bethany, because see when we were getting down to like no new cases a day, like when we were still kind of in the midst of a lockdown in Scotland, that I remember that being like really prominent news. There have now been no new cases for 24 hours, no new cases for a week, all that kind of thing. That was quite widely published and broadcasted on the radio. I do, because I remember like hearing it and being very hopeful and like keeping my fingers crossed that like next day would be the same and next day would be the same. But you can't, we've said this before, you can't have it both ways. You can't open up the country again and not expect there to be a rise in cases and not expect it to be reported on. Because if you didn't report on it, people just become complacent and then you get even more cases. People are already complacent, but I feel like if you don't hammer home the message that there are, what was it today? 4,044 new cases in the last 24 hours in the UK. If you don't hammer that message home, people are just going to take the mick. And there were 13 deaths as well, actually, in the last 24 hours from COVID. I
agree with what you're saying, but I also think that at times the line is crossed where it is just scaremongering, because it's a better headline, because it will get more clicks, because that will be like a nice little soundbite that will be picked up.
So one other thing to add is when she was doing the kind of news do you remember that wee girl that went on this morning said she wanted to replace Big Ben? Bim bong, bim bong.
Bim bong. Can we just go back to those days, please?
So I kind of had a flick through Denise's Twitter. She spends a lot of time talking about bad data and don't listen to the fear-mongering and trying to like debunk stuff. I think it's actually quite dangerous. Somebody with a decent enough Twitter following, somebody who's fairly prominent in daytime TV, is being so lax about it. She's got like 500,000 followers, 480,000 followers or something like that, and that I just think you need to be careful with your...
Oh yeah, that's where my agreement with her sort of ends, when she starts kind of going into her borderline conspiracy argument. That's where she loses me.
I didn't really understand what she meant by universities going to be the new care homes either. I don't know. Does she mean like they're going to have to be used as care homes, or does she mean like...
No, she was saying, so that's the point that I was making, that because it was reported that in the press that universities were going to be the new care homes, meaning that there were going to be a lot of cases, obviously care homes. So she was talking about a story in the press that compared universities as being the new care homes in terms of like infections
infection
and
rates,
yeah.
right? Okay. But I mean, they weren't wrong, were they? Because there's a hell of a lot of them. So yeah, she talks about bad data quite a lot, but like having a flick through, she shares quite a lot of screenshots of just like cropped screenshots of text messages, and says, was sent this from a GP, was sent this from a dentist, was sent this from a doctor. And it's just like, well, that's quite hypocritical, Denise, actually, because, you know, you have to source and evidence your claims. Like that's
Yeah.
part and parcel of, and I know the media isn't always great at that either, but you can't criticize bad data and then just share random screenshotted messages and try and put that across as gospel.
Yeah, well, without wanting to sound Trump, like Trump, we are in an era of fake news, and it's really quite terrifying that screenshots of WhatsApp messages go round and then suddenly it sort of spirals and then fake news and then it becomes fact and the lines get really blurred.
There was one that did around on WhatsApp.
What was that about the army tanks?
No, it was about like a lion or something, and Putin had deployed lions in the streets of Moscow or something like that, and that did the round on my auntie's like group chat and stuff.
Yeah.
I was like, guys, come on, these are
I got the
sensible.
one about the tanks being deployed on the. It was like my cousin's boyfriend's friend is in the army, and he says that we're going to be deploying tanks, and it was just a picture of a tank.
Do you remember the one? There was a rumor that the Queen had died.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of them, is it not?
It was like a screenshot of WhatsApp and somebody who'd been like posting into their squaddies WhatsApp group, being like, right guys, you are shipping out to London next week and you need 2 pairs of pants, 2 pairs of socks because the Queen's dead and they haven't announced it yet and there's going to be riots. No, hold on to your knickers, boys, the Queen's passed away.
But yeah, it's very of that generation, isn't it? They sort of. I actually read something somewhere, and it's like your parents tell you not to believe everything you read online, yet they believe everything they read online.
And I was going to say, is gullibility, is that too strong a word? Or is it just, I don't know. Maybe it's naivety. Like, I guess we've kind of grown up with that technology and maybe the generation above us haven't, so they maybe see it as a more legitimate means of communication and spreading info when it's actually not.
Potentially, and there's absolutely a place to not just go to the mainstream media outlets, but by that I'm not talking about WhatsApp group messages.
Yeah,
I'm talking like looking at sort of your freelance journalists to investigate these types of things, and
not your mum's pal's cousin's stepson's auntie.
No, not them. Alternative news, but not your auntie on Facebook.
So yeah, Denise Welsh, not overly impressed by her arguments, to be honest. And I know where she's come from a wee bit, which says she's like a kind of mental health person. I think she's had her own struggles with depression and anxiety, and I think she's trying to get across the point that lockdown's bad for people's mental health, and it is.
Mm-hmm.
But
I think hopefully the government, are recognising that more, and that other illnesses aren't ignored. But I don't like this narrative of people when they're saying they're comparing a COVID to cancer and to suicide. It's not a competition.
Yeah.
I get the sentiment behind it, but I just don't think we need to go down that route of comparing.
No, I know what you mean. I think there was another video or tweet of Denise Welsh, and she was saying 500 people died of heart disease and 400 people died of cancer or whatever today as well, but that's not in the news. And it's like, well, if it wasn't for COVID, if there was a sudden spike in those deaths, it probably would be in the news. But they're long-standing.
No, we're probably talking about Brexit.
That's true.
Or Colin Rooney and Rebecca Vardy.
So that's Denise, and she's a member of Loose Women. And I'm always stunned at like how many different people are actually on Loose Women. It's almost like, you know, like the Pussycat Dolls, where there's actually like 15 of them or something, but they all like change and take a different job. That's what Loose Women's like.
I watched an episode a few weeks ago, and I was quite impressed with the lineup. It was quite diverse, different ages, different ethnicities, and they were actually having quite intelligent debates, and I was quite impressed.
Well, you know my stance on it, Bethany. My good friend Kim Woodburn was roundly and viciously bullied on that show, so I don't have the best opinion. So you kind of see where Denise is coming from for part of it. I don't.
You don't at all whatsoever.
No.
So you think that it's right to scare people into staying at home?
But I think you're always going to get stupid headlines from papers like The Sun, like "Fear we go again."
Take like Fearmongering, for example.
Yeah, well, we don't like him either, do we?
But he's mainstream media.
Well, him and Denise actually don't get on.
Well, they had a spat, didn't they?
Yeah, he referred to he was like, anybody who doesn't want to know the truth about COVID figures and stuff, feel free to follow our new CMO, Professor Denise Welsh.
I think that we want somewhere in between scaremongering Fearmongering and Denise Welsh. Something in between would be nice.
But that's the problem with media, isn't it? You've always got people always
very
try to
polarised.
You try to, especially in these times, everything's polarised. People try to push an agenda, a certain viewpoint. The fact is, it's back with a bang. It's out there, thousands of cases every day. Okay, admittedly, it might well be because we're testing more people that we're picking up more cases, but by the same token, it's still spreading. And unfortunately, while it spreads and while people get infected, people are going to die. Mm-hmm. And
I think though that it's better to incentivise people to isolate, tell them the benefits of isolating, like Nicola Sturgeon's announced, support measures if you're tested positive and you need to isolate, rather than the carrot and stick approach of we're going to hammer you with fines, scare you into staying home. I think the former approach is better.
No, yeah, I would agree with that.
Incentivise and encourage, don't scare people.
Yeah, but by the same token, I feel like there would still be a demographic of people who would be like, oh, paying people to stay at home, that's ridiculous. It's their civic duty. They should just be at home and do it for their fellow man.
If you can't afford to take time to work, I don't imagine, unless you're really quite sick and twisted, you're not going to go out and willfully infect people. But if it's a case of putting food on your kids, feeding your kids, and you need to go out to work.
You might say putting food on your kid's table.
Yeah. It's been a long day.
I will. So that's Denise. Right, Bethany, what have you got to talk about?
Okay, so obviously last week we avoided coronavirus. And this week I have another coronavirus Karen.
Well, it's got to be done. It's in the news. Are we scaremongering? Are we part of the scaremongering media? Because all we talk about is COVID.
You are, I'm not. Okay. Okay, so this is another favourite of mine, obviously The Sun.
Oh, yeah. I hope you didn't click this time.
No.
I think you might have.
Maybe. Okay, so the article is called Halls on Earth. Quarantined students say they are prisoners as security guards block them from leaving amid COVID outbreak. So I think, did you say earlier it was about 40 campuses around the UK? Students
47 or 48 or something like that, I think I heard on the news.
Students are being quarantined in their halls of residence in the campus, and some are claiming that they sort of feel like they're in prison because security guards aren't letting them leave, even though they've not been in contact with anyone, they weren't involved in any parties, anything like that. So they feel like they're being punished.
You can't be detained like that. There has to be a legal basis for that. You can't have somebody just say you're not allowed to leave. That's false imprisonment.
Probably one of those awful G4S security guards.
Too big for their boots. Too
Yeah,
big for their
Too
steel
big
toe
for their
cap.
high-vis vests. The high-vis vests give them a false sense of authority.
Do you remember the program The Hustle that used to be on?
Yeah.
The Real Hustle? And they used to do they used to hustle people. And one of them was like the guy just stood outside a place with a high-vis vest and a clipboard and like got people's like money and like bank details and stuff off them. It was crazy. It's crazy what a high-vis vest does.
It gives you that sort of feeling of authority. So someone says, "Oh, you can't leave here," and they've got a high vest on. Maybe you go, "Oh, okay." The power of the vest.
Power of the vest, indeed. By the power vested in me.
By the power high vis vested in me.
Hmm.
I'll cut that bit out. Okay, so quarantine students say they're prisoners as security guards block them from leaving amid COVID outbreak. And Jane has left a comment. I'll read it out.
Oh, obviously, how else are we going to get to see it? Hear it?
Oh, well, I won't read it out for any more of your cheek. Okay. So Jane says, "This is our future generation," with a little eye rolling emoji.
I love that one. Use it all the time.
They should be...
It should be what? It's gotta be good. What is it? They should be what? You're leaving me then?
Sorry. I don't know why I've caught the giggles. Okay. Not very professional, I'm sorry. Okay, I've composed myself. Right, look away. Don't look at me. Okay. This is our future generation. Eye roll emoji. They should have been around during the war, lol.
War lol.
No lights, food rationing, and spend hours underground in dim lighting. Bunch of snowflakes. ... Grow up and get over it.
Oh my god. What is that about people in the bloody war?
I don't know. Oh my god, someone's commented. So Georgia's commented underneath. "Oh, stop it. What's the point of relating everything to the war? We should move on."
So snowflakes. What did she say? Dim, no food, dim lighting, underground.
Food rationing.
What is it?
Bunch
People that are
of snowflakes.
obsessed with the war. I don't know why. We spoke about this in the last episode as well. Like, why do people think that we should, because you got through a war, you can get through it?
But a lot of people who comment that are like in their 50s
Yes,
and also didn't get through a war. But what I was going to say is, also during the war, they could hug each other. We can't.
Yeah, during the war, you weren't imprisoned. That's what my granny calls it. She says she's in jail. Like, see the height of it when it was like proper lockdown,
Yeah.
isolated. She sent we did like a video montage for my mum's 50th of like everybody saying happy birthday and stuff. And my gran's was, "I'll see you when I get out of jail." I was like, oh my god, that's quite sad.
Yeah,
But
coronavirus, and I'm not saying that. Of course, I'm not saying that surviving World War II wasn't difficult and horrendous and just awful, but so is this. It's just a different type of awful. Coronavirus, we're living, it stops our way of life in every single way. The way we interact, our natural instincts as human beings to hug your friends and family and people you love. We're not getting bombs dropped on us, but we are all avoiding a deathly virus that spreads through doing stuff that makes our life worth living, really. Because otherwise, at the moment, we're all just going to work, but we're not having the fun part of life, which is socialising, kicking back, relaxing, going on holidays, all the stuff that you go to work for. At the moment, we're just hamsters in a wheel.
what the hell?
I don't think I took a breath there.
You just look like you're about to tear up. Hamsters in a wheel, work to live and live to work.
Well, that's kind of what we're doing now, really. Or where
Yeah.
it's heading as we go back into another lockdown, because it looks as though, obviously at the start, a lot of people are on furlough, people sadly losing jobs and things, but now we're sort of going into more sort of social lockdown, as people are calling it, where we go to work but we don't do any fun stuff.
Yeah, so you can't. Yeah, they're more than happy to keep the economy moving by letting people go back to work, but you can't.
Yeah, you can make that sacrifice, but you can't make that sacrifice to.
You can't go and see your pals. But like, I don't see this. I don't think they should ever have opened the universities, to be honest. But again, that was like to save them in a way, so that they had an income.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I'm not condoning the students who had big parties and things, because it was wrong, but we knew it was going to happen. What I will say though is that a lot of students went and stayed in halls of residence under the pretense that they were going to be getting classes at university, and I think 99.9% of their classes are online, which they could have done from home and saved themselves a lot of money.
Halls are so expensive, by the way. Like,
They're extortionate to learn online.
I know some of the halls at Dundee were like 500, and Dundee's cheap, like £550 a month.
And how many years ago was that?
6.
So probably a few
Probably gone up.
quid more now, yeah.
Probably gone up. And for that, you got a single room, ensuite single room, and a shared kitchen with a small living space attached to it.
But you had the benefit of being close to campus.
Yeah, with your pals,
Mm-hmm.
party 24/7.
But hey, we're that future generation that Jane is talking about.
So what? There's
Grow up and get over it.
Grow up and get over it. But then, but they have been sold up, haven't they?
Yeah, exactly. The argument isn't that they shouldn't have been partying and meeting up in large groups. That's obviously against the rules.
Yeah.
And you're guessing if the university students are at least 18, 19, so they're adults.
By the same token, though, like to be told, come to university, it'll be fine. Move into halls, meet your new pals, and then be told, right, you need to stay in that flat for 2 weeks. You know what some people are like when you move in with them? Like, can you imagine being stuck with awful, minging, unhygienic flatmates?
That you've
weeks,
only known for 5 minutes.
It's like a weird social experiment, isn't it? It's like Big Brother but worse. I see Sumer students all the time, and cycling home from work late, and when I get to the park, they're always walking through it, and they're done up, and they've got their carry-out bag, and they're clearly going. There'll be a group of them, 3, 4, 5 of them, and they're clearly going somewhere for a party. And you're just how brazen can you be? I
don't let anyone not following the rules annoy me. I think everyone just needs to focus on what they're doing, and if you can say that you're trying your best to keep you and other people safe, then I don't think you should focus your attention on what other people are doing, mainly because it will just drive you mad.
It's see, during the hard lockdown in the springtime, I didn't see Andy for nearly 3 months, but I would see other people on social media brazenly just hanging out with other people, no distancing, in their house, just posting stuff on their Instagram constantly, and it would really rile me up.
How many you wouldn't have seen the people who were doing what you were doing because they wouldn't post about it? Do you know what I mean? So you're only seeing the people that are breaking it, because you're not going to take a picture of yourself saying, me, myself, and I am not with anyone today because I'm distancing.
No, I know, but still, I was just the brazen attitude of some people to do that really annoyed me.
I can understand why, but I think...
So we just have to accept that they're just not...
You just have to accept, everything, and, there are rule breakers.
Badasses.
Well, it's we spoke about last week, the benefit system, and how the majority of people, it's a minority of people who,
I think that was episode 1. I don't think that was last week, chick.
well, all the makes merge into one for me. So on one of the podcasts, we spoke about the benefit system and how it's the minority of people who abuse it, but a torch is always shined on those individuals. And I think that's the same with lockdown. I think most people are at least trying their best, but we always hear about the people who aren't, and we focus on the people who aren't.
Right, so students, I guess it is a seminal moment in your life when you move away from home or start uni or both. So it's a bit of a shame that it's, dampened down this year. But I think we all just need to accept that this year's been a bit of a write-off, and, birthdays have been rubbish and celebrations have been rubbish. Christmas will probably be a bit crap.
Yeah.
No holidays. You can't see your pals as often, so it's just one of these things. Sadly.
Yeah. And like I said, just
deflating.
Yeah, I guess just to reiterate, I'm not saying, students are immune to that and that they can just do what they want and, they're only young. What I'm saying is that they're getting, I think, unnecessary attention when it's a handful of people who are breaking the rules. Obviously, there was going to be an outbreak when you put that many people in an enclosed environment. Mm-hmm. And
well,
they were sent there under the pretense that they were getting classes when a lot of it's online, and really, if we're being honest, it was to satisfy greedy landlords.
Oof, yeah. But I mean, it was inevitable it was going to spread when they sent students back. Like, famously, freshers flu.
Yeah.
Everybody gets sick in Freshers Week, or actually one of the big ones normally is meningitis. People get meningitis.
And alcohol and social distancing and hand washing don't get along.
No, exactly.
So even
especially
with the
best, they're playing tonsil tennis.
Oh. So even with the best intentions and the most sensible people, and they're following the rules and everything, a couple of drinks at Freshers Week, I think it's easy.
Couple of pints with the lads.
To get a bit frisky.
Frisky?
Maybe that was the wrong word.
Oh my god. This is a family podcast.
I know. No, it's not.
Nah.
It's a family podcast because your mum listens.
Yeah. She's a number one fan. I think I've actually mentioned on every single episode so far. To rein it in. Okay, shall we vote?
Time to vote. The Deputy CMO, Denise Welsh, against...
Professor Welsh, please.
Professor Welsh. Against World War obsessed Jane from Facebook.
Jane the Pain.
Jane the Pain.
Professor Welsh. I'm stuck this week. I don't really know who to vote for. So on one hand, we've been over this ground with both of them, actually, haven't we?
Yeah.
So Denise Welsh is a bit...
I think is very Karen about Denise Welsh.
Well, I was just about to say, it's the WhatsApp messages.
It's the WhatsApp messages. It's the sharing unreliable sources.
Yep.
That sort of, my cousin's in the army and he says we're deploying tanks sort of post. That's very Karen. That's very...
Yeah, it's very... It's typical Karen. It's very, easily led. Don't question. Is it in the acronym? It's like no logic, no reason or something.
Know your rights. Accuse everyone. Request a manager. Escalate to authorities and neglect reason.
Neglect reason, right? Okay, so Professor Welsh is neglecting reason when she just kind of puts her screenshots of messages up and says, "Got this from a dentist. Got this from a doctor," but it's simultaneously slagging like bad data from other people. So that's why I think.
Like I said, I do agree with some of her comments about the mainstream media's narrative around coronavirus, But we'll agree to disagree on that.
So that's why I think. Oh, excuse me, I'm trying to speak while I'm yawning.
Am I boring you?
So that's why I think Professor Welsh is Karen of the week. That's my stating my case.
Okay, so just quickly go back to Jane. This is our future generation, eye roll. They should have been around during the war, lol. No lights, food rationing, and spend hours underground in dim lighting. Bunch of snowflakes. Grow up and get over it.
No,
We've
food
got a
ration-
lot, so there's a lot in there. So there's the commenting on how young people and eye rolling and what are the young people like, hey?
That's classic.
They should have been around during the war, lol. So we've got that part about comparing it,
So like simultaneously,
coronavirus and lockdown to the war, which we've already said, they're both difficult in different ways.
but simultaneously giving the war like a lot of gravity, but ending it with lol. Very
Yeah.
lighthearted. Make your
Keeping it
mind up.
lighthearted, and then we've got the bunch of snowflakes. Grow up and get over it.
What was it? What was it said? Food rations, no lights, living underground.
I mean, that is kind of like what those university students are doing at the moment. We're at a deadlock, I
impasse.
think.
Do-do-do-do-do-do. That was the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire music. Tense.
Do you know what? See, to keep you happy, I'll vote for Deputy CMO.
No, don't. You don't have to.
Professor Loose Woman.
Is she? Oh no, she's not. I was going to say she definitely would have it in her name if she was. I was going to say she like an MB or an OBE. She's got pre-order my new book. Click the link in bio below. What's
This
it
could all
called?
be very clever of her if she's got a book out that she just wants to generate a bit of publicity, and we're all falling for it.
It's a Sunday Times bestseller, apparently.
Well, it wouldn't surprise me because she's been in the news every single day.
I think it's her. I
A
think
lot of
it's her
people will
bio.
be visiting her Twitter and clicking that bio in her book. So,
A lot of people also be following her
yep,
if they
No.
agree.
I think it's decided. Denise Welsh is our Karen this week.
Yes, 3-all.
I hope you're happy.
I'm very happy. I'm always happy to win.
I was trying to think of that come down with me phrase, but I couldn't think of the rest of
What a sad little life, Jane.
Hope you're happy.
It's a classic. Classic.
Well, episode 6.
Episode 6. Has it come and gone already? Have we not got anything else to add?
I think we've said enough.
We've said our piece. Episode 6. I'm trying to think of something that rhymes. Episode 6.
Coronavirus is a fix. If you're Denise Welsh, that.
Okay, so yeah, that's us. So if you enjoyed listening to this podcast, you can subscribe on Spotify, YouTube, and the other usual podcasty places.
Yep. And if you see any funny Karen posts that you think we'll like, or if you would like to expose or reveal yourself,
Don't
with
expose yourself.
Karen.
Please.
Yeah, if you'd like to tell us about any sort of Karen moments you've had recently, then you can get in touch at whatisitnowkaren@gmail.com.
And you can follow our socials, guys.
Yeah.
Instagram is at whatisitnowkaren.
Okay, so we'll see you next week.
See you next week. Yeah, I have nothing more to add.
Thank God for that.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Oh God, we're doing a podcast.